Hello, Cultivate Excellence friends, family, fans, and supporters. We're so excited you're here with us today. Here's a question for you. Have you ever found yourself wanting to be among the smart group, whether it was in college or even in grammar school? In some ways, that's all of us, and it's for obvious reasons. We tend to want to benefit from the greater collective intelligence of the group that we associate with. That concept carries through in masterminds. And masterminds is something that was developed many, many years ago. In fact, over 75 years ago, Napoleon Hill introduced the concept of a mastermind group, and in it he said that people are more enriched in their lives when they spend time with other people who are like-minded. So joining me here today is Luz Canino-Baker, who is the founder of Latinas on the Plaza, and Latinas on the Plaza is a nonprofit organization that is committed to help women become their very best, to develop their very best selves, specifically Latinas.
Right.
And Luz, you're also an executive coach for LNC Coaching, and you're the author of Designing Your Life Plan.
Yes.
So talk to me about mastermind groups. How does it work, and how did this idea come into play in the Chicagoland area and the Midwest?
Mm-hmm. So under LNC Coaching, before I started a nonprofit organization, I used to put on full-day conferences for women. And what we decided to do, because we felt like the one-day conference was just one day,
Right.
and we wanted to provide some other mechanism to provide support on a year-long basis. So I think I really don't remember how I stumbled upon the concept of Mastermind, but I remember thinking when I heard about mastermind groups that this is exactly what I needed to give the women, because it offered the women in a cohort-based program services for a full year in small groups with like-minded women to really encourage and support one another. And that's really the essence of what a mastermind group is, and that is really the structure of our mastermind groups as well.
Absolutely, and this exclusive community is a place where a lot of sharing and collaboration takes place. Forbes actually did an article on the 7 benefits of joining a mastermind in 2013, and what I'd like to do is just kind of go through the list that they say are the benefits, so to speak, and perhaps you can tell me how have you seen some of those benefits play out in the local groups that you have here in Chicago and all across the Midwest. And I understand that you now have grown to the point where you are facilitating different meetings depending on the region. Is that correct?
Yes. So originally we paired women up without really thinking about geographically, because we thought we can just do some of the meetings over the phone. And some of those groups were effective, but we found that the most effective groups were the groups that met face-to-face on a monthly basis. So then when we relaunched the program, we launched it based on geographic location. So when somebody's interested in being in a group, I try to find a mastermind leader who lives in their same geographic location so that they can meet physically together, usually after work, once a month.
Okay, so the women come together, they experience life, they go through a curriculum, so to speak, and this pertains to both professional development but also living fulfilling personal goals as well. Mm-hmm. How else does it work and play out together?
Mm-hmm. So what we've done is, again, in the beginning we've learned a lot. There wasn't a lot of structure, and that some groups were successful without structure, but the groups that followed the structure, and in particular the groups that I led, had a lot of structure around them. So what we do in each of our groups is really use a book. So it's not a book club. I always have to quickly say it's not a book club. But we use a book to keep us on a particular theme for the whole year. So our very first book is Talking 9 to 5 by Deborah Tannen. And it's the difference between how women speak differently than men. So every month there's a chapter that's assigned, and we use that as the basis of the conversation during the mastermind session. So we spend maybe an hour talking about the book. The more once the group finishes that, we actually just completed The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. That's another wonderful book that we used in another mastermind group. So it's about an hour on the book, and then we use the typical mastermind concept of hot seats.
Okay.
And a hot seat gives an individual in the meeting focus on whatever issue she's experiencing. And so she brings up the issue, we get to ask her questions about it, and then the whole group provides feedback, and that's what masterminding is. It's not just the leader providing suggestions, it's the whole group masterminding to provide her with suggestions in respect to how to tackle that problem.
And that's so true of what this whole idea is to really benefit from the collective intelligence of the group through recommendations, through people giving advice and sharing, and also through referrals, I would imagine. Have you seen that play out in the women?
Yeah, so a lot of it is sharing resources, either introductions or things that we stumble upon, good books to read or good classes to take. It really, as the group bonds more and more each month, there is a continual sharing of resources throughout the year.
And I would imagine that these women also have the opportunity to expand their network, whether they're looking to advance in their careers or expand their credentials, go back to school, or look to change industries altogether. How has that played out in the mastermind groups that you've seen?
Yeah, so the other part of the mastermind is at the beginning of the year is to have the women establish their goals for the year. And most of the time we have seen that there's always professional goals around a career change, or maybe going back to school, or maybe even starting their own business in some cases. So it's whatever that particular person has identified as important for them, and those goals get shared with the whole group, and we check in periodically throughout the year to ensure that there's progress.
That's incredible. So we talked about advisement, collaboration. These are just some of the 7 benefits that Forbes has identified: expanding your network, new learning. This is material that is outside of the classroom, so to speak, and it's experiential learning because the women are trying it out and learning as they go. Cross promotion. I imagine do you have an opportunity for the groups to come together and interact?
Yeah, so the idea with having the multiple groups across the Chicagoland area is to eventually bring the women together a couple of times a year. We were aggressive at one point, and we were doing monthly events, and that got out of control. So now we shoot for more, either it's a quarterly or a semi-annual event where we try to invite all of the women so that they can expand their network by meeting the women in the other mastermind groups. So we also do service projects. So a couple of years we did, around the holidays, we packed shoe boxes for Samaritan's Purse. For 2 years, we've done service projects.
Excellent. Well, there you go. And I imagine it's also another chance to think bigger, to get outside of your routine and get around like-minded people who can really help you think bigger in your own life. Well, it's so exciting that you've brought that concept here to Chicago. And for those of you watching who are interested, you can learn more at latinasontheplaza.org and check out the Mastermind tab. You'll find more information and contact information for Luz, and you can reach out directly there. We want to thank you so much for joining us, and if you found value in today's show, we want to invite you to leave a comment. Talk to us about masterminds. What's been your experience? Is this something that you've been looking for? We'd love to hear from you. And most of all, visit cultivateexcellence.com for more information. We want to thank you so much for joining us, and we invite you to join us again in the next time. We'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.